Hey, welcome to Slow News Day Live. My name is Steve Poikin, and I am coming to you from the heart of the Santa Cruz Mountains, and I'm joined this afternoon by my good friend Jason Carney. Jason, what's happening, man?
Not much, just traveling the beautiful state of California. Now I'm in Sacramento as opposed to our last show where I was in Oakland. Enjoying life. It's starting to warm up. The white people are melting out here.
Yeah. I was really fucking pissed that we had winter in May.
Oh, going over Donner when it snows, it's a priceless moment. It makes your butthole go from a normal size into a singularity, if you will. And all the physics people get that joke. But yeah, how you doing?
Oh, I'm okay, man. So Robert, Saddam has weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Muller um, held a press conference yesterday, and or was it the day before? I can't even fucking
It was
remember.
yesterday.
This is all blurring into one day now. Um, and uh, and he set like liberal heads on fire, and he made like MAGA hats all fucking happy, and the whole entire thing seems like a fucking sideshow to me. But there is some critical information hidden in the nonsense there that needs to be deconstructed, and you did an excellent job of doing that yesterday. So if you want to go ahead and run that down.
Well, thank you, good sir. I happened to be up. I was eating breakfast and everything, CBS, NBC, everybody cut in for the Mueller press conference that was supposed to occur. And essentially, what it was supposed to do was shed light from the special prosecutor's perspective on the investigation and pretty much create some form of clarity on what's been said in the last couple of weeks by Attorney General Barr and other members of the Trump cabinet, including Trump himself. And one of the things was, and the mainstream media has been jumping all over this, that it's been a witch hunt, that he didn't commit any crimes, etc. And Mueller literally took 8 minutes yesterday to say that he never said that, and the investigation never concluded that. Um, about 2 seconds after the press conference ended, I went on Facebook and I threw down a simple sentence. All Mueller is saying is that it's the Democrats need to go and start impeachment proceedings. It's really simple, not overcomplicated. If you listen to his entire little spiel for 8 minutes, it wasn't it wasn't even PC. It wasn't anything that was like trying to play both sides or show impartiality. He laid out that he couldn't charge the president because of DOJ memos and things of that nature saying that you can't indict a sitting president. That didn't mean that he cleared him of any potential wrongdoing. And he also emphasized Russia's role in the 2016 election of trying to violate cybersecurity, impact the elections, etc. But what I really want to touch on is the Mueller aspect when he was talking about Trump. I want to get this direct quote because he basically threw a gauntlet down to the Democratic House of Representatives, which would, if we all remember our civics classes, would be the first to bring impeachment charges. They would be the ones to essentially engage the process in which the actual trial would occur in the Senate. And he would be found either impeached or not impeached based off the evidence. And he said, Mueller, when speaking about Trump, if we had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said that. That is being diplomatic, if you will. Essentially, what that statement meant was there's stuff here to prosecute. Going further, when he came across explaining what it was, he never used the word insufficient evidence. He didn't say lack of evidence. He didn't say there was no collusion. He didn't clear Trump or this administration or the Trump campaign in 2016 of collusion with Russia. He didn't say that they did it, but he basically threw it at the feet of Democrats and saying, if you really want to prosecute this, you can start initiating the impeachment proceedings now. It was really super simple. And unfortunately, the mainstream media has come in and overcomplicated 8 minutes of speech and turn it into 24 hours of nonsense and bullshit.
Isn't that their job, though?
Yes.
When you get right down to it, manufacturing
Oh,
confusion. I mean, that's something that we're trying to hammer home here, right?
exactly. But what I'm frustrated with, and I'm glad we could talk about this today, Steve, because one, I wanted to do a show, and two, this is something that's frustrated the hell out of me. This is a huge deal. I don't think people understand this. Impeachment proceedings are not something that you take lightly. During the Clinton years with the Lewinsky scandal, Republicans suffered some major blowback in the upcoming election that came. I believe it was the 2000, because it was the 98 2000 range. Republicans suffered losses for going after Clinton at the time.
That's actually not true. They didn't
Mm,
start to lose seats until 2006. They had uninterrupted control of the House and the Senate from 1994 to 2006.
oh, no, no,
The
no, no. We're not talking about losing control. I said they took losses. They
oh,
didn't lose
well,
control.
it
That
they
was still a product of the contract with America, the Republican domination of that
they
time
came
frame.
out of impeachment hearings with, and this is the Democrats' reason for wanting to do it. They failed to get Bill Clinton out, but that was a springboard for all three branches of government, the erosion of civil liberties under the Patriot Act, the fucking false flag that was 9/11, the war that ensued afterwards, the wars that ensued afterwards, uh, uh, unsuccessfully impeaching a president politically worked out really well for the Republicans for almost a decade. And I think that as short term thinking as the Democrats are, particularly the people that vote Democrat, not even the leadership, but the voters, as short term win focused as they are, they would risk whatever hell would be unleashed as a result of that through an unsuccessful impeachment attempt.
Right. And just for clarification for everybody, Steve was 100% correct when he said the Republicans held, but also what I said was accurate as well. Democrats gained in the Senate and in the House. They didn't take over. That was the thing. Um, Going back to what you said, it was a vindictive uh, exercise by the Republicans to spend $40 million on prosecuting a stain on a dress. And let's be real, if we're being honest and fair, it is again, a vindictive exercise, this time being performed by the Democrats. And so far, 25 million, not 40 million, like Trump said. Trump's numbers, I don't know where the fuck he's getting them from, but 25 million right now, verifiable, has been spent on the Department of Justice's investigation into Russia, and 12 million, I believe, went into the Muller investigation, the special prosecutor's office. So we got 25 million so far. There'll be some additional charges, I suppose you could say, so we could find out at that point. But what this boils down to is a witch hunt. Ooh, not a witch hunt. Who? There's stuff there. Let me walk that one back. This is a taxpayer funded exercise of vindictive nature. 2016 happened. Hillary wasn't supposed to lose. She lost. They pointed their fingers at everybody on the face of the planet. That doesn't take away from the fact that I believe, from all the evidence and the investigations that happened so far, that there is some merit to some of these crimes being investigated so we can come to a thorough conclusion and prosecute those that are involved. I'm not saying that's without merit. What I am saying is that this isn't some altruistic exercise to protect the Constitution, to protect the American people. This isn't that type of exercise. This is 100% vindictive. And it reminds me of 1998 all over again. I don't know about you, Steve. What do you think?
So it I think it's deeply cynical and purely political. 100%. Absolutely. This is there. Uh, as nice as it would be to not have Donald Trump as president, it would be even nicer not to have two right-wing parties where one pretends to be a left-wing party. Um, The problem is you don't make anything better by replacing an openly really shitty human being with a secretly shitty human being.
Is
And
it secretly? Really?
I mean,
I think the
well,
secret's
okay,
out on
not even
Pence.
in Pence's case, but a less overt, less obviously shitty human being.
He he puts a
By that I
smile on
mean
his
whatever empty
Christian
suit.
Taliban ways.
Pardon?
He puts a smile on his Christian Taliban ways.
Yeah, Mike Pence. I don't know if you know this or not, man. Um, Mike Pence was a radio host back in Indiana, and he advertised himself as Rush Limbaugh on decaf. That's how he promoted himself. I am the same drug-addled, hateful bigot as Rush Limbaugh, but mellower, little less angry about it. He represented Indiana's 6th district. I grew up in Indiana's 6th district. I was already gone by the time Mike Pence got there. That you know, um, but I what I'm saying is I'm familiar with his base. You know, I'm familiar with the constituency he built before he made it to the House of Representatives, and then the people who voted him into it because they were my fucking neighbors and probably my dad. You know,
Right.
um, Mike Pence is a fucking lunatic, like an absolute batshit crazy fucking rapture ready Ken doll, and he fucking belongs nowhere near
The red phone.
not just the halls of government, but like not even in fucking one of them weird churches where they pass around snakes and shit. Like he
Dude,
just
he shouldn't even manage a Chipotle.
him and mother need to retire. Need to go down to Lake Lemon or something like that, Southern Indiana, nice little cottage, and need 2 rocking porches that only face the setting sun and no one else around them forever. That's what they need. That's what we need for them to have. The
Right.
simple fact of the matter, though, is that the Democrats can't impeach Trump on anything that they're not guilty of.
When has
Anything
that
that
stopped? The tribalism in this country. When has that stopped the hypocrisy in this country?
I so here that presents a problem though, Jason, and this is why. They'll have to fabricate something out of whole cloth again, like they did with Russiagate, where there's innuendo, allegation, and the obvious fucking fact that foreign governments hack our fucking shit just like we do theirs.
Right.
It's
But
just
here's my
that
problem,
we're
and this
really
has been
good
my
at it.
problem since day one. The emoluments clause has been violated. That was the one area that you could have touched on where there's legal evidence to prosecute and to bring forth the impeachment process, the proceedings. Instead, you went after Russia. You went after the 2016 election, and you tried to relitigate that. You could have gone the emoluments route. And if you had, there would have been a stronger case because there is direct evidence that he is benefiting off his office, which is a constitutional no-no. But instead, we have this Russiagate bullshit where we have 2 years of investigations. We have a bunch of low-level people. Okay, Flynn, whatever. Going in, Manafort. Okay. But you have a bunch of low-level that aren't directly affecting the American people at this point being prosecuted and going to Club Med or Club Fed for however long they're going to go. Manafort will have the book thrown at him because he's been an asshole the whole time. But everybody else is either doing 6 months, 12 months, supervised probation, etc. You went
Manafort,
in instead of going after what was legitimate from a legal standpoint to something to try to say what Democrats essentially were saying, we were right the whole time. The reason why he won is because of Russia. When that's not the fact. That's not the fact of the matter. You really want a Trump gone, you go after him for the emoluments.
okay, so the likelihood of prosecution on emoluments clause, the likelihood
The
of
strongest one, strongest case.
it is near zero. Um, I okay, there's a few things that I want to touch on here.
Okay.
And let's be clear about something right now. Paul Manafort is fucking getting the book thrown at him because he took other people's rich money away
Oh
from
yeah.
other rich people's money away from them. It is not because he had
No.
anything to do with Vladimir Putin hacking freedom and taking away fucking herself's rightful throne. It has nothing to do with that. Paul Manafort ripped off rich people.
Right. But
That's why he's getting punished.
Can I inject one thing? I think, like every other rich motherfucker on the face of the planet, there would have been more leniency if he didn't flaunt the fact that he's a rich motherfucking asshole. That's what I was getting at with the asshole component. I think he
I
would have
mean, if
had
that was the
nothing
case,
thrown
we
at
would
him.
have already got Steve Mnuchin.
Right.
That fucking chinless fucking, he looks like a human fucking fish. Like,
He's the poster boy for revolution.
Back to Manafort though, and this is something that enough people don't talk about. Luke Harding, a hack fucking journalist, got away with planting a clearly bullshit story in The Guardian. And it was about how Manafort supposedly visited Julian Assange at the Ecuadorian embassy in London before the Ecuadorian government literally sold him out for $4.32 million. And now they're fucking in Ecuador, by the way, is shipping Assange's possessions to the US ahead of extraditement. So they're not even fucking going to England at this point. If Robert Mueller was conducting a fair investigation at all from the beginning, if he wanted actual information, if he wanted any semblance of reality in his investigation, he would have personally investigated the DNC servers. No one would have been allowed to take anything from CrowdStrike with any kind of legitimacy. He would have interviewed Julian Assange. He would have conducted an actual investigation into the murder of Seth Rich. He would have interviewed Bill Binney or anyone else from Veterans Intelligence Professionals for Sanity. He would have done all of those things. Had he even done one of those things, there would have been a whiff of I don't know, something genuine to it. But it was a political investigation with negative political consequences because it had to be fabricated. Because anything you can go after Trump on, it will fall back immediately onto the Democrats. You don't have to look any fucking further than the connections with the Podesta firm.
But you know my problem, Steve. You know I'm a disciple. I'm an atheist. But law to me is my religion. You know that. And you know that when it comes to law, people using it for political means is disgusting and vile.
You're the most fucking offended by this whole fucking charade in the first place. You know, if you're viewing the law with that much reverence, the entire investigation should have had you screaming, "This is fucking bullshit for multiple reasons, and here's why." And I know
it has been. We've talked about this, even on air. You know, I'm with you 1,000%. Like I said, for me, we're going to get into it later, like we talked about impeachment, what it means, whether we should, whether we shouldn't, anything else. But needless to say, for people to trounce on law, which is supposed to be dispassionate, it's not supposed to be emotional, it's not supposed to be used as a tool to bat people over the heads with. It's supposed to keep an order in a sense. It's supposed to be something that's above human bullshit. And the way it's been used, and this isn't the first time. I'm not naive. I'm not ignorant. But to be used in this manner, it's vile. It decreases the enormity and the impact and the reverence we should have for law. It makes it into a joke.
So I've got a few lawyer buddies, more than a few, and I hate to besmirch lawyering, I really do.
I'm not a lawyer yet.
According to them, according to them, any fucking idiot with enough Adderall or cocaine and rote memory ability can pass the bar exam. It's what you do afterwards with it that
Right.
makes you a good lawyer or a bad lawyer or a malleable fucking political figure like Kamala Harris.
100% accurate. I plan on taking it to civil rights. I want to work for the Southern Poverty Law Center or the ACLU, or work for immigration, for protecting immigrants. Those are the two things, and it's not sexy and it's not going to make money, but I love law. And I think it could be used as a tool for good if applied correctly and without bias and applied in a sense that's supposed to be fair. Lady Liberty's had her blindfold off for a long time now, and it's totally desecrated the whole concept of what our judicial system, amongst many of the horrible other things that are going on, whether it be institutional and cultural racism, just socioeconomic discrimination. We could throw all that stuff in there, but at the end of the day, law is supposed to be above all that, and it's been used in the most heinous way as a weapon. It's been weaponized. That's not what it was meant to do, and that totally takes away credibility from the institution of law and the institution of our courts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Are you familiar with the late uh, kind of sci-fi fantasy writer Terry Pratchett?
I've heard of him passing.
He co-wrote Good Omens with
Yeah,
Neil Gaiman.
I had a girlfriend who told me to
Which,
go read.
by the way, man, give me like 2 seconds to be a fucking dork, dude. I have owned and ran through and bought and ran through and given away as a gift and then bought so I could give it away again. So many fucking copies of Good Omens. It's seriously like it's my fucking geek fix, dude. I'll fucking reread that shit any day. I fucking love it. And uh the goddamn they turned it into a show and it airs tonight, and I poached somebody's account. So not poached, but got permission to poach somebody's account so I could watch it. Sorry, but Terry Pratchett has a line in one of his Discworld books called The Fifth Elephant, and they're explaining this backwoods territory that is supposed to be like feudal like Germany to Transylvania kind of area.
Right.
Uberwald is what it's called, and they're like, look, man, this place is fucking. They're backwards. They only really recently replaced trial by ordeal with trial by lawyer, and that's because they just found out that lawyers were nastier.
my thing is my thing is this. I'm going to have my geek moment too, since we can interject this, and we're not one of those establishment type of media outlets that constantly try to take your money. So we put up the faux professionalism thing. I want to say something highly controversial, and I hope this will go viral. Um, George R. Martin is one of the worst authors in the history of writing, and Game of Thrones is so horribly overrated. It is a fancier CGI version of Dungeons and Dragons. How do I know? Yeah, I rock Dungeons and Dragons, and yeah, I just want the world to know to stop being sheep and following such crap and nonsense. Um, if you want something good, go to Netflix and watch what is it? Love, Death, and Robots. One of the best things that have ever graced my eyes. Um, yeah, I need the world to know that. I need the world to know that Game of Thrones sucked. George R. R. Martin's a horrible author, and yeah, I feel better. I feel better. I feel better.
um I don't have HBO. I don't have like a pirate service that I go to stream it. We had the year that the Cubs won the World Series, we had Dish Network out here for like the playoffs,
Right.
like the last week or so of the season, the playoffs, and during that time, I managed to watch like 3 episodes of Game of Thrones. And I was like, first off, I was like, oh, cool. They named the wolves after a Grateful Dead song, you know? And then I was like, Weirwood, this guy's a fucking hippie, you know, and fucking I was like, well, this is awful incesty and rapey.
Yeah, yeah. That part didn't even bother me. It was just the storyline. It was like he was trying to be so mysterious. Who's going to win the Game of Thrones? Who's going to be in power? Blah blah blah. That it was stupid. It was
So,
literally
so
stupid.
I got friends that are really into it. I got a good buddy who is a TV writer down. He lives in North Hollywood, and fucking he was such a big fan of the writing up until about season 6, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
Uh, and he put up this thing that it was like an artist illustrated. This is how, you know, the timeline of Game of Thrones, and it was an incredibly detailed horse that shifted into a stick figure. Um,
That
These
summarizes it.
dragons are gonna make you some money, man. I mean, dude,
Lord of the Rings sucked too. Just throwing that out there. You turned a book that was maybe a movie into a 3 hour epic of crap. I mean, really, what was the thing? Kevin Smith did it best. I think it was Kevin Smith, where he did the fake walk, and then day one, day two, did the fake walk, day three, holds out the ring like that, drops it to the lava, turns around, and goes home. That was a
Shrek.
summation of Lord of the Rings, ladies and gentlemen, and I may be crucified for saying such blasphemy, but Jesus Christ,
That
come
is one
on.
of the funniest fucking scenes in that movie, man. Randall and the dude from Alias, Marshall. Uh,
Right, right.
I can't. I only know. I know he's been in a ton of other stuff, and I should know his name. But to me, he's Marshall from Alias. I'm just fuck, you know. Uh, um. Oh, it's brilliant. It's such a good scene, dude. It is. Makes him puke too.
No,
Even
that's
the
the thing, though. I
fucking
mean,
trees walked in that film.
I think that's kind of where my anger toward the population is when they got so enthralled with Game of Thrones, but they couldn't be bothered to go out and vote, or they couldn't be bothered to go out and protest, or they couldn't be bothered to defend somebody else's rights. That part. I hear about Game of Thrones and there's a billion people watching and everybody's enraptured with bullshit. But here we got Julian Assange that is potentially being murdered in his cell. We've got innocent people across this world who are being killed for capitalist interests. We have people that are starving in this country that aren't receiving health care, that are their schools are dilapidated. There's discrimination, sexism, racism, you name it. There's xenophobia being prevalent if you have brown skin and you don't speak English as your first language. We have all these real things that we should all be quote unquote enraptured with, but yet we have George R. Martin looking like a freaking old ass troll. What was that fucking one with the hair and shit? Those stupid little trolls that came out in the '90s, looking like one of those, putting out crap, and people are just fapping away to it. And it's all like, what in the serious fuck is wrong with people?
Everybody needs a distraction because if they think about shit too much, their fucking head will explode.
They don't think enough. They don't think enough. They would rather watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Game of
Titties and
Thrones, and all that
robots,
bullshit than fight for
titties
people's
and
rights.
dragons, titties and something, you know. We're a fucking puritanical country when you get right down to it. So you throw some titties and dragons at somebody, they're gonna fucking go for it. I'm not. Okay, that's a marketing strategy. It's solid. What cracks me up is the last thing I'll say about Game of Thrones, and we can get back to
Yeah,
YMP.
yeah.
It's a dumb fucking idea. Um, because I gotta go in like a half an hour. um, there were a whole bunch of fucking people that named their kid after the mother of
Oh
dragons.
yeah, Daenerys or whatever.
Yeah, and then they got all fucking pissed off when it turned out that she was also a horrible fucking person.
Hashtag irony. But was
Uh,
she horrible? Really? I mean, she did some bad things, but she did, from a philosophical standpoint, have a point. I mean, I'm not saying it was right, but it was
I
great
have
for
said
argument
kill it with
purposes.
fire before. I have, you know, like as just kind of a thing that you should do. Not in the general Westmoreland sense where sometimes you have to burn the village to save it, but you know, that's kind of what she did.
Right.
She was the general Westmoreland of the the whatever kingdom. I don't know.
But I'm a nihilist, so maybe my opinion isn't the most wonderful, but I mean, it's great for debate purposes. I mean, she's not necessarily horrible. Yeah, we'll refocus. This could be a totally different show where we can just have argue the merits of popular culture.
We'll get Ron Placone on for this one, man.
Oh, yeah.
He can Game of Thrones with like anybody. When he came up to Boulder Creek here to do the stand up show, he had a whole like closing Game of Thrones bit in his act and related to politics. It was well done. That's basically how I got
round table. That needs to happen. But anyways, getting back to impeachment and Mueller and all that other fun stuff. Did you want to dive into the positions of impeachment, the implications of it, and what people really need to start focusing on, rather than the Democrats just selling you on impeach Trump?
Well,
or did you have anything to follow up with?
I think it's such a fucking. I think it's such a bad political strategy for the sole fact that like the amount of people that honestly care about the emoluments clause, you could probably fit into one movie theater if you showed a movie called The Emoluments Clause. Like that's who would show up for that. Yeah, great, dude. I got it. Is it impeachable? Probably. It probably is.
I'm not the norm.
Is there the political will to do it solely on the emoluments clause? No, absolutely not. There's no political will for that.
But it is the
my point being, anything they're going to impeach him on will be fabricated, and because it will be fabricated, the blowback will be incredibly severe. People are not going to turn out in midterm election or in fucking. They're not going to turn out at the lower levels of government for people who were hammering impeachment home if they create a fucking scenario that is obviously demonstrably false. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no, I totally agree with you. There's no argument there.
The House can impeach him, the Senate won't.
Right, and that's what's going to happen. It's going to be Clinton 2.0. The House will, in fact, kick it up to the Senate, and then the Senate, because it's Republican dominated, and for whatever reason, the cult of personality is strong with Senor Orange Face.
Bernie Sanders at his town hall today said, I don't know if there's 47 senators on the Democratic side that would vote to impeach him.
Right. But what matters is, in all reality, is just the numbers game. I mean, even if every Democrat signed up and said, yeah, I will for sure vote to impeach, there's still the other side that has the majority, so it's irrelevant.
Chuck Schumer would say, I am not going to enforce anyone to vote impeachment. I believe that people have free will. He would pull that shit like he did when he provided cover for Joe Manchin and a couple other people to vote with Trump on deregulating Wall Street or fucking there's again, like, the leadership is there to provide cover for whoever, as long as it keeps the status quo rolling. That's so I mean, not only that, but you've got like
Pelosi.
Well, Pelosi is already like, fuck no, I don't want to do it. And it's not that she's smart for not doing it, but fuck, she's smart for not doing it, you know?
I don't like her, but she's politically savvy. You can't argue that
she's
point.
Really not, though, man. She's fucking motivated by she's motivated by the thought of her own power. Absolutely. That makes her great at fucking taking people's money and turning it into political favors. I guess that is savvy. You're right about that.
The thing is she's celebrated for her fundraising prowess.
Yeah.
That's what people say. That's the first thing. Not that she fights for people, not that she's passed such massive legislation that it's restructured how this country works. It's the fact that she's a fundraiser. She is a cheerleader. And this goes with any males too. This isn't just a misogynistic statement saying that all female fundraisers are cheerleaders. What I'm saying is Chuck Schumer is known for his fundraising prowess. He's a cheerleader. These people don't pass legislation. They don't fight for people. They raise money for the Democrat Party. Hence why they're in the leadership positions that they are, because they're not master tacticians. They're not great at their jobs.
Well, I believe their job is to grow a spine every time they need to stand up to the people.
Yeah, they are good at that.
And
They are good at
protect
that.
their fucking donors. That they will always have a spine for that.
And McConnell is the same, and whatever ass clown is the minority leader at this point in the House for the Republicans, they're the same too. So don't get me wrong, this isn't just a bash Democrats thing. I assume when I bash those two that the people here are savvy enough to understand. I mean it goes for the Republicans as well, since they're two sides of the same coin. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I get a lot of shit when I remember I have a Facebook, you know, and I'm like rained down upon by the fucking pussy hat mafia, and there it's just what I love doing at this point is just screenshotting an Alyssa Milano tweet, being like, "Hey, vote blue no matter who, huh? Really?"
Well, that's the thing. At the end of the day, we're not here just to bash Democrats. We're the reason why I go after Democrats. I won't speak for you, Steve. The reason why I go after Democrats is twofold. One, I'm a Marxist. I'm not a Democrat. There is no Democrat that's a Marxist. There's not one right now that's in power. Not even Bernie Sanders. Not Ocasio Cortez. Not Ilion from Minnesota. None of them are socialists. So let's clear that up real quick. Secondly, they're the people who allegedly will sell themselves as the party of the people. They want to protect the people. They want to enhance people's lives, etc. They're lying to you. So I feel personally insulted every time Democrats get on their soapbox and try to say that they're here for the people, that they're the only ones who can truly hear the people and represent the people. I go after Republicans for being fascist. That goes without saying. But my particular venom, my vitriol when it comes to Democrats is because they openly lie to you. They're a corporatist party. They're the other side of the same coin. They are what the Republicans were in the 90s. Let's be real. And Nancy Pelosi is doing this big tent, and Chuck Schumer with this big tent nonsense. You either are for the people or you're against them. There's not a big tent. There's not compromise. There's not understanding. You either fight for the people or you go to your corporate paymasters and grovel and get your next 10, 50, $100 million from them. That's really what it boils down to. And that's what the Democrat Party is today. Because when progressives try to go in there and make it a people centric party, look what happened. Look what happened. You know, the blowback on it is amazing. So for this party to say that they are fighting for the people, that they are representatives of the people, it's nonsense. So I go after them harder than I go after the fascists on the GOP. But it doesn't take away from the fact that I don't see the GOP as fascists.
Yeah, I go after Democrats because they're a deeply cynical right wing party that exists solely to be the graveyard for progressive ideals, and any shift word to the left for this particular country. I don't personally have like a political identity right now. I don't identify with any political party. I want collective ascension as human beings so that we can move past money and explore both inner and outer space together. That's what I'm here for.
Right.
I don't fucking
You're about progress of humanity. That's what you're for.
I got a big picture goal here, man. I do.
Yeah,
uh
to go back to the impeachment part, I'm reading this article and it says even if Pelosi approved, which means she obviously doesn't approve of impeachment, as you said, Steve, it's unclear impeachment would currently muster the 218 votes needed in the House, much less the 67 required for conviction and removal from office in the Senate. The Democratic caucus contains 235 members, 31 representing districts Trump won in 2016. So let me do something real quick with this. People would sell out what's right by the law, what would protect the American people in theory, because 31 of them are in districts that Trump won in 2016. So they're so terrified of losing their job that pays $185,000 a year, gives them free medical care, that gives them perks that the average American cannot enjoy over what's right. This is your Congress. These are the people that you bitch about yet keep putting back into office. Work with me, people. Work with me.
So again, yeah, there's the political will to do something that at best pays off with President Mike Pence. I understand that going into campaign mode for a lot of these people that are in heavily blue districts, they know that everybody spent the last 3 years getting the Rachel Maddow brainworms. They know that they're fucking well programmed, fucking
Automatons.
responsive enough to push the button on Tuesday, you know, engaged enough to do that. So they are ratcheting up impeachment because it's expedient for them financially, career wise. It's something, and they have to make that the conversation, because otherwise the conversation would be, why the fuck don't any of our candidates have policies? And why do the ones that do have policies, why do they all fucking suck? Like, anything that they can do to avoid that conversation is going to happen. And in the meantime, you have Elizabeth Warren's fucking platform on how to be a fake progressive. You've got the fucking playbook, and you have a fucking mean Twitter game, and you have a fucking mean soundbite game, and you fucking even sponsor some legislation that you know will never see the light of day. And you build up your base of people that are out of fucking options and want to believe the marketing. And you keep people voting in this deeply cynical right-wing party that exists to be a graveyard of progressive ideals. Or you say, enough is fucking enough. We're going to go march about this. We're going to fucking walk up onto the halls of fucking government, a lot of us, with a list.
Well, I definitely want to touch on that. I want to carve out the last 10 minutes of the show because there is something that is near and dear to me that I would like to chat with you about and get your thoughts on. Going back to the impeachment aspect, so it's safe to assume that you oppose impeachment proceedings for Donald J. Trump, right? Pretty safe to say that?
I think it's a bad idea. I think it's I don't. Yeah, I oppose it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 100%. Here's my problem. I'm schizophrenic in this case, like we talked about before the show. Everything you said, 100% correct, 100% accurate, no argument. My only aspect, oh, and factor into that President Pence with his hatred of Roe v. Wade, hatred of women, hatred of minorities, hatred of immigrants, doesn't need to be anywhere near power, like we talked about earlier. The only aspect, and this goes back to my legal dork side, the rule of law. When someone violates, and it doesn't matter if they're rich and wealthy, the President of the United States, the Pope, I don't care who they are, the CEO of a major multinational conglomerate, I don't care, or someone who's poor. The rule of law, the beauty of it is that it's supposed to be blind and it's supposed to apply to everybody equally. We all know that's a fallacy. I'm not delusional. The rich have one set of rules, the rest of us have another. But at the end of the day, I feel like any semblance of that concept is gone when people walk. When you have people like Trump that has, again, I fall back to the emoluments clause. That's one thing I can point my finger at and say, yeah, I know it's not a sexy case. I know it's not something that the world wants to prosecute, etc. But a crime was committed, and for me, that means something. So, am I for impeachment? From a legal standpoint, That's the only reason why. But from a real world practical application component, I stand with you 100%. The Even if everything went swimmingly for Democrats and they were able to impeach him, we are stuck in the presidential line succession. That is how this country functions. And the next in line is Vice President Pence. Now, if he could be implicated in any way, the other option isn't great either. That would be Speaker of the House, who would be from San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi. So at the end of the day, trading in one devil for a worse devil, and then trading in one devil for another devil, I'm not sure that's a win-win for anybody. So it's kind of schizophrenic for me. From a law standpoint, a legal standpoint, I want the law to be upheld and applied fairly to everybody. I don't think wealth, prestige, or anything else should shield you from law. But on the other hand, for all the reasons that you said and some of the reasons I said, impeachment doesn't make any sense.
And here's how you know there's no chance in hell Mike Pence can be implicated in anything that the Democrats could throw at Donald Trump for impeachment. Because if he could, that fucking clown face zombie would be all fucking over it.
Yep.
President Nancy Pelosi, if she thought she could get that,
Yep.
she would have been fucking out there like Code Pink, fucking all day, every day. Fucking Trump lied, people died, fucking.
She'd be Newt Gingrich.
Yeah, she would be there. She would be. I guarantee you.
But that's my thing is at the end of the day, I stand 100% with you on this. There's like no argument other than my, I don't want to call it naivete, but my belief in law and what it's supposed to be, not what it is right now. Because I deeply hate when the wealthy can skirt laws because they're wealthy or they're powerful or they're influential. I think it shows the backwardness of humanity every time we let one of these assholes get a lesser sentence or able to repeat their crimes to the point where they get to go to rehab for 30 days and all of a sudden everything's forgotten. I find it disgusting and it eats away at me. So when I see this from that standpoint, I would love to see that fucker burn for what he's done. But at the same token, the alternative is not any better and could propel us into a worse situation.
Oh yeah, and I agree. I do. I don't me and Emma Goldman down here in this corner, I have a slightly different view on the rule of law and the law as an institution. Do you know what the like old ass Icelandic kind of law scenario was? It was called The Thing.
Okay, tell me about it.
Literally called The Thing, and they would meet like once a year, weather permitting. And it was like an airing of grievances. It was a festivus of sorts. All right,
festivus for the rest of us.
But there were repercussions for serious offenses, and it was a consensus based thing, and it was like as close to law as an anarcho-socialist collective could get. And that to me is ideal. Like, I understand that with 365 million people once a year is probably a little bit impractical. I do
right.
But I have, and you have too, and you touched on this, like only seen the law applied to poor people and rich people that rob from other rich people.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's like the success rate of U.S. drone strikes, when it appears to be, or in fact, in experienced reality, is a feature and not a bug of the thing itself, then the thing itself is designed that way. It's not it's not a happenstance or a side effect, or do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So I be like, again, I'm not fucking kidding when I talk about like collective ascension. I'm really not like that. I find myself falling into unproductive arguments because people want to apply um like what I'm saying in terms of how socialism was defined by the CIA, or um by the way that history played out in terms of a government functioning as state capitalism and calling itself communist and shit like that,
And by
dude. Like
fascists like
where
Rockefeller,
I,
Ford. Yeah.
I find myself falling into unproductive conversations like that because I don't feel like my thumbs should have to explain that the systems that we've tried haven't worked.
Right. Oh no. Are we shut down? What the fuck? Still says live. All right. Do I do filler here? Am I even on? Yay, modern technology. YouTube, you suck. Okay, well, just in case, I will either talk to myself or talk to an audience that may or may not be there. Steve is 100% on point when it comes to this. I can't really disagree. People's ideology is defined for them as opposed to them understanding it themselves and applying it, in the manner it's supposed to be applied. Um, as a human race, we are inherently flawed, and all of our systems of government, our forms of applications of laws, etc., have been very susceptible to greed, corruption, and flaws that are inherent, such as mandatory minimums when it comes to sentencing guidelines. That's a horrible travesty of law in and of itself.